So back in 2016, Quinnipiac had a poll, flashback, 2016, Clinton, 42%, Trump, 40%. The election result, Clinton, 48.2, Trump, 46.1. Basically, Clinton gets her .2, her +2. They nailed it. One difference, the Electoral College. Because Clinton might have taken the popular vote, but Clinton lost the Electoral College. But it's important to note, Quinnipiac actually nearly hit it on the head. If you look at regular politics, these were the election predictions going into the election. Notice Clinton was winning all of them with the exception of one that went to Trump. We could even chase where they were. Today is July 16th, so on that date, they were about here. Clinton, 43.1, Trump, 40.4. Now, we all know what happened in that race. Clinton gets 3 million more votes out of California, but that's one state, even though it's a big state. And basically, in other parts of the country, it is bleeding red, in which case Clinton got a mud hole stumped at her. Now, on top of Clinton getting a mud hole stumped at her, people look around now and they make allegories to how the polls could say Clinton was going to get it and how Clinton basically lost. And you've always heard me make the point that there's a difference between national polls that tend to lie to you as opposed to the individual polls in the battleground states. And so when people see the polls that are out today, they have let's say, a modicum of salt that they take with it because of remembrance of what happened back then. There's a difference. Back then, Trump was a conceptual thing. He wasn't necessarily in power. Back then, there wasn't COVID-19 that was flaring up. Back then, there wasn't a racial uprising where the public changes its point of view almost rather drastically, actually, within a very short period of time. And incompetence is hard to do, or presenting is hard to do when you're incompetent. And so all of these things avail the country all at once. So it's not a situation of Trump running against Hillary Clinton without something substantial being wrong in an overt level way, as it is with all of the fires that Donald Trump has basically failed miserably at addressing. And not just my opinion, what the public roundly says in poll after poll after poll, all of them are coming out to be about the same thing. I want to show you some of the recent polling from Quinnipiac. It is brutal. Whatever Donald Trump is doing, he needs to stop, turn around, and do the opposite. He fired his campaign manager, but let's be honest, the issue is not his campaign manager. The issue has everything to do with him. When he goes out and gives those meandering speeches, he thinks he's doing himself a favor. He is not. He looks like a lunatic. Not to mention the fact that the speeches are all over the place, aren't even received all that well. The American public roundly considers him a liar, which means that what comes out of his mouth has little to no value. Don't get me wrong, he can command the military and that type of stuff, but from the standpoint of the public believing what he's saying, that ship has sailed. So all of these things are going on all at once for Trump that make it a dramatically different time frame in regards to the way this election is being run. It's also weird that the overwhelming majority of the people who voted for Biden are just doing so in order to get rid of Trump. That's an undermining in regards to momentum and energy. But the question becomes, are there still enough people that will go and make that vote, even without any momentum, being entirely driven by hatred and disgust of the other person? That is an experiment that we're going to find out right now, because the American public is not thrilled with Joe Biden at all. By the same token, their opinion of Donald Trump is scathing, to put it mildly. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. We like to say this content is brought to you by you, and I appreciate you the opportunity for allowing me to do it. Let's get to it. This is polling that's out from Quinnipiac. I blew the screen up so you can see it. I'll go through it relatively quickly. Voters now give Biden a slight edge in Trump in a direct matchup when it comes to handling the economy. Voters say 50 to 45% that Biden would do a better job of handling an economic reversal from June when Trump was held a slight lead to 51-46, meaning Trump was leading in this category initially, and that flipped almost within a month. Look, if you're going to blame everybody else, it looks like at one point the American public was giving Donald Trump a pass on the economy, saying, okay, the issue was the COVID-19 thing and everything else. That's changed. At this point, they're starting to also blame him, meaning that feather in his quiver that he was kind of carrying with him all of this time is basically went up in smoke. Let's hear this other one. Let's see. All right, right here, handling the crisis, Biden gets the edge, 57-38. Handling healthcare, Biden gets the edge, 58-35. Handling coronavirus response, Biden gets the edge, 59-35. I remember when Biden didn't get the edge in some of these. Addressing racial inequality, Biden gets the edge, 62-30. He is the king of blacks, after all. Honesty, Trump, 31. Say yes, 66% say no, meaning they think he's a liar. Biden, 46% say yes, 42% say no. A large percentage thinks he's a liar. That's not think, that's a flat fact for both. Biden dropped out of a campaign for lying, and he's still lying about the civil rights movement, put in perspective. 35% say Trump is a good leader, 63% say no, that is brutal. Biden, 49% say yes, 42% say no, that's nothing to brag about. Cares about Americans, Trump 37, Biden 59. Biden should not have a number that high. That's entirely relative. Voters give President Trump 36-60 job approval. 36 points for job approval. That's a 6-point drop compared to last month. All of this is taking place in 1 month. He's drowning in that office. President Trump's approval rating on the economy is underwater as voters give him 44-53. That's also a change. On handling military, Trump gets a negative 41-51. Foreign policy, 37-59. Healthcare, 35-59. Race relations, 31-65. Trump is underwater on all of those issues, and in the majority, almost 2-1. Trump gets 35-62 for COVID-19 response. Again, almost 2-1. 62-31 say Trump is hurting rather than helping efforts to slow the spread. These are brutal numbers. How do you get elected with numbers like this? This goes beyond just the who do you think is going to win or who do you don't think is going to win. On that number, by the way, Biden has extended his lead to 15 points over Donald Trump. Again, Joe Biden is doing this entirely from his basement. He's not doing anything, and he's getting these numbers. And the plan that he put out yesterday, the environmental plan, wasn't even out yet when these numbers were taken. So let's keep going. Trust information about COVID-19, 2/3, 67-30% said they don't trust Trump. 2-1. Well, I'm sorry, 2/3, but 2-1 don't trust them. 2/3 do trust Fauci. They do trust Fauci. 2-1 don't want to open schools. 2-1 don't want to open schools. When you get into the Russia stuff, this gets sad. 77% of voters said that they are very concerned or somewhat concerned about reports that Russia paid bounties to kill Americans. Now, this was done under the flimsiest of evidence. So flimsy, in fact, that they didn't give it to the President of the United States. Afghan leaders or Afghan intelligence doesn't want the United States to leave. And they've been trying to find reasons and rationale. So this was leaked to the press and New York Times ran with it. The efficacy of it or the reality of it mattered less. And it had little to no cooperation backing it up. And yet, the American public, once told at that point, runs with it and believes it. 59% say they think Trump is not telling the truth about what he knew about the Russian report. Again, flimsy, barely in existence, not a reality behind it, and yet this is what the American public believes. 54-40 say they support removing the Confederate statues from public spaces. Meaning, even on that, he's losing this argument. Look, is it possible that within a time frame Trump could turn this around? Of course it's possible. But he would have to do something dramatically different than what he's already been doing. And up to this point, he has shown no propensity to be able to do that. These numbers are utterly abysmal. And if you look at the final tally that Quinnipiac came up with, Quinnipiac nailed it. 42, 40, 48, 46. And Quinnipiac is now saying there's a 15-point gap. Trump is at 37%. He's underwater big time. And if you listen to the Republican operatives, they are pointing out that that's disastrous. Not to mention, the firing of the campaign manager makes it come across as if, yeah, this campaign is in calamity, because when a campaign is doing well, what you don't see is the firing of the campaign manager. So Trump is trying to reorganize how he's running this campaign and get more serious about it. And the catch becomes, is it possible for him to dig himself out of this ditch? I say no. I think he loses. And I say that with a heavy heart, because you need even the whiff that the person can win the race in order to put pressure on the candidate. And if Joe Biden can run this race entirely just from his basement, just based on who Donald Trump is, then that, for the most part, eliminates any ability that you have to influence your political space on the left. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks all.